What's up, guys? It's Zero here, bringing you all a brand new episode of Horror Theory. Welcome everyone to Horror Theory, the best horror-related show here on YouTube. And I'm super excited about our episode here today. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's get into it. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, what's up, guys? I'm super excited to be bringing you all a new episode of Horror Theory. We've got some stuff to talk about on this episode of the show, and just got finished up with a birthday party out of Zero Dark, and so it's been nonstop, guys. It's been awesome, though. Very grateful for everybody who's been joining the channel, everyone who's been subscribing to the channel. I am incredibly grateful for each and every one of you. We'll be giving you guys, got some shout outs for a number of you here shortly. But with that being said, for those of you who are new to the show, this is Horror Theory, everything in the world of horror. Plus we give you guys some insight into what it all means. Here's how the show works. We have some predetermined topics that we're going to go over here on the show. And then at the very end, we're going to be taking your live questions. How can you get a question answered on the show? It's super simple. There is a tip link in the description down below that you can click on that you can ask a question and we will answer it on the show as long as we deem it appropriate to be answered. And what's awesome about that link, guys, is it is good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you're watching this episode of the show as a VOD, you can still click that tip link and ask the question, and we will answer it on the following episode. With that down and out of the way, let's get into our first topic, shall we? Orochi says, I'm happy it's not getting canceled. Totally with you. We're going to be talking about what Orochi is alluding to is none other than State of Decay. We're going to be talking about that here shortly. But first, let's talk about this. Let me just switch screens here, guys. You know, one of the things and one of the games out there that is absolutely awesome, a franchise that's great from Remedy. Remedy, guys, these are the folks over there that have created the Alan Wake franchise. They've created Max Payne. They're currently working on the Max Payne 1 and 2 remakes right now. I love Remedy. They've done Control. They've done a number of really cool games. Very excited about the future, not only of, Max Payne, but also of Alan Wake. And, there was a lot of questions that came up after Alan Wake 2 released to the world, whether or not we were going to get an Alan Wake 3 at some point. Well, guys, there's an article that came out from Mark Dechamps over at Comic Book. Remedy says Alan Wake 3 will have a shorter wait. So let's talk about it. So, ladies and gentlemen, Alan Wake 2 was one of the most critically successful games of 2023. Releasing more than 13 years after the original, the game easily proved worth the wait. Thankfully, it seems that fans won't be waiting as long for a third game. While Remedy Entertainment has not officially announced an Alan Wake 3-quel, the company stopped just short of doing that. Remedy released its financial statements for 2023, in which CEO Tero Vertala spoke a lot about Alan Wake 2, as well as the next game in the Control series. Vertala says the company sees both as major franchises now and wants to have a more regular cadence of sequels, which they absolutely should, guys. Alan Wake was awesome. The second game, which, by the way, let me know in the comment section down below if you guys would like me to live stream beginning to end Alan Wake 2. That is something that I would absolutely be down to do if you guys are interested in that. But with Alan Wake in control, we now have 2 established franchises, and our ambition is to grow them into franchises that have high brand recognition, steadily growing user base, more regular cadence of sequels, and an ability to generate revenues and profits at a high level, said Virtala. So obviously, that sounds like a very good sign for a third game and possibly much more. What also bodes well is the fact that the game is performing to Remedy's expectations at a time where even multi-million selling games aren't making back their costs. Virtala had some great things to say about sales for Alan Wake 2. With over 1 million in digital sales, it's the fastest selling game in the studio's history, and it has also recouped a significant part of the investments made by Epic Games Publishing, and we expect the game to be a meaningful revenue and profitability driver for the year. So, super good news to hear that Alan Wake 2 has made Remedy a lot of money, and it just comes to show, guys, if you make a really good game and you properly market it, it's going to sell really well. And it might not sell super well immediately, but over time, word of mouth is a very powerful tool. And so I think Alan Wake 2 definitely benefited from a lot of people saying great things about it because it was a fantastic title. And I cannot wait to see where they go with it with Alan Wake 3. I would say, guys, we're probably going to have to wait until the Max Payne 1 and 2 remakes are finished, which I also think are going to make Remedy a lot of money. Max Payne is a game, guys, that stems all the way back to the original Xbox. And so I think there's a deep root with Max Payne, very dark noir lore there. And I cannot wait for Max Payne 1 and 2 remakes. I would say, though, after that is when we can probably expect an Alan Wake 3. So these quotes from Virtala should help Alan Wake fans breathe a sigh of relief. Alan Wake 2 was released on October 27th, and a month absolutely packed with major video game releases. That same month also saw Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and Assassin's Creed Mirage. The game could have easily slipped under the radar, but positive reviews and award recognition seem to have gone a long way. Of course, collaborations with games like Fortnite and Dead by Daylight probably didn't hurt. Totally agree, but I also think, guys, man, a lot of great word of mouth. I mean, that's what I think it was. It was a critical success. As they say here, the first Alan Wake was a critical success, but took a long time to find significant interest. See, this is what I'm saying. A lot of these games that come out, especially brand new IPs, it may take a little while for, to really build that fan base. We've seen this all the time with other games that we're going to be talking about here today, like State of Decay, and that franchise. It took a little bit of some time, but now it's got a nice sized fan base. People are very excited about the third game. With Alan Wake, took some time, and a big part of that was due to the game's proximity to the original Red Dead Redemption. Releasing just 4 days before that Rockstar classic, Alan Wake was overshadowed. Over time, the game managed to find a passionate audience and finally got a sequel after more than a decade. It remains to be seen just how quickly we'll see a sequel announced for Alan Wake 2, but if it ends up being significantly shorter than it was between the first 2 games, that's a big win for fans. So here's the reality, guys. I think Alan Wake 3 is absolutely going to happen. It's more of a matter of when, not if. I think Alan Wake 3 will release more than likely after the remakes of Max Payne. So Max Payne 1 and 2 remakes that Rockstar gave the license, or, they're leasing the license out to Remedy to make those 2 games, and Rockstar is also helping to fund the projects. And so really excited to see Rockstar do this. I think a lot more AAA game publishers, developers need to do this with games that they're not maybe necessarily going to be working on for a while. Obviously, Rockstar is very busy with GTA 6. More than likely, Red Dead Redemption 3 will come after that. So Max Payne is a commercial success, but it's also been, a real cultural title within gaming. And to just let it just lay there by the wayside, it's really good that Remedy now is going to kind of capture a brand new audience and introduce Max Payne for the first time to a brand new generation. And so that's really exciting stuff. I would say that after those 2 games, though, is when we're going to be getting the Alan Wake 3 continuation. And hopefully Alan Wake continues past 3. I mean, I think that Remedy absolutely has something special here. I'll be sure to keep you guys all up to speed as more information comes out. But what do you guys think about Alan Wake 3 and the possibility of it, and what obviously the CEO Tero Vertala was stating from Remedy about Alan Wake 3? What are your guys' thoughts about it? Let us know in the comment section down below, and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down and out of the way, let's move on to this, shall we? So, there's been a number of games, guys, that I've wanted to talk about, but there's a game that certainly has captured my attention without a shadow of a doubt, and that is none other than OD. Overdose. An overdose on fear is what Hideo Kojima over at Kojima Productions talks about OD. This is a title, guys, that looks absolutely unnerving, even though all we got was a teaser trailer. But I want to talk about OD and the things that we know right now about this title. I believe that we're probably going to be getting OD some point now in the future, where you have Hideo Kojima just finished up, of course, Death Stranding 2. That game released to the world, commercial success. I mean, it's getting a ton of great reviews. And so now they're able to kind of move into OD, which is going to be Hideo Kojima's real, take on a horror game that, something that he wasn't able to do, that he was planning on doing with Silent Hills. And then that split happened between him and Konami. And that's when he moved over to working on Death Stranding, started his own company, Kojima Productions, and so a lot of things happened. But let's talk about OD. I think this is something we absolutely need to talk about, and I'm excited to talk about it because OD, guys, is an upcoming horror game developed by Kojima Productions and published by Xbox Game Studios. So obviously, Hideo Kojima has been working on with PlayStation, specifically now for a while. I mean, really, when you think about it, it's kind of gone over the last number of years. And now he's going to be working with Xbox. This game stars Sophia Lillis, Hunter Schafer, and Udo Kier. Hideo Kojima and Jordan Peele served as writers. So Jordan Peele, obviously, guys, known for Get Out, Us, Nope. Great filmmaker, does a lot of these horror titles. OD, guys, is going to be something that explores the concept of testing your fear threshold and what it means to OD on fear. Just the sound of that sounds absolutely unnerving. It sounds terrifying. We saw Hideo Kojima and what he was able to do with PT, the playable teaser for Silent Hills, and that was a creepy teaser. And it was just a teaser. It wasn't, the full game or anything of that nature. It was just like a demo. And I absolutely loved it. Psychological. OD will absolutely be that for Hideo Kojima. Kojima stated he is working with Xbox Game Studios and their cloud gaming technology to take on the challenge of creating a very unique, immersive, and totally new style of game, or rather, a new form of media. I can't wait to see more, guys. I would say that we're probably going to be hearing more about this. If we don't hear about it next Xbox Game Showcase of 2026, I would say 2027 is when we're going to be hearing more about it. Hideo Kojima is one of those game directors and developers that they do take their time with their projects, but they are really good at keeping a really solid, they have a great track record of staying on schedule of what they're planning on doing when they want to release it. They don't, really, most of the time at least, they don't just take their time with these titles. They want to get these things, moving. He has all these great ideas in his head. He wants to get it out there on paper and then on screen for us. And so I think OD could be a couple of years away. The partnership between Kojima Productions and Xbox Game Studios was revealed at the Xbox Developer Direct in 2022. In November 2022, 2.5 minutes of gameplay were leaked on a live stream recording of a phone and on Twitter showing a fearful nurse at a hospital walking around with a flashlight. The video ends with the cryptic symbols forming to say game over and overdose. Kojima and Peele appeared at the Game Awards 2023 to officially unveil the game with a short trailer featuring Sophia Lillis, Hunter Schafer, and Udo Kier. Development was suspended in 2024 due to the 2024-25 video game voice actor strike and was resumed in July of 2025 following the release of Kojima's latest game at that point, Death Stranding 2 on the beach. So it's really important to note here, guys, that they just recently resumed production since the game was suspended because of the video game actor, voice actor strike. And so that's why I'm saying we're probably a couple of years away, especially we really don't know the scope of OD. We're not sure how is this an open world or is it like a linear experience? I'm really hoping that we get more of a linear experience because when we talk about horror games, a lot of times if you have more of a linear experience, it just really builds the tension, the fear, those psychological elements and things of that nature. So I'm really hoping that you have Death Stranding 2, which is this grand landscape and this huge sandbox that you're able to explore. With OD, I'm hoping it's more of a linear experience. Maybe you can explore a little bit, maybe kind of like a Silent Hill-esque title, but I fully trust Hideo Kojima to create an absolutely unnerving and terrifying experience with OD, especially when you have Jordan Peele as a writer for this, for this game as well. I'm so excited about this, guys. I think this is my most anticipated game that Kojima Productions has ever produced, right? Because I'm a massive horror fan. I love Death Stranding for what it is, but, and even, when we look at Metal Gear, I love that franchise. It's a cult classic franchise, but horror games is what my love is, and I cannot wait to see what Hideo Kojima does with OD, and like I said, guys, it could be something really, really special. Maybe it's going to be like a Saw game, like the Saw movies, that whole franchise, because they, obviously the cryptic symbols that formed in this leak that happened, Game Over, I think of Saw and overdose on fear. I love this concept. And I think it's going to live up to that hype of being an absolutely terrifying experience. I think Kojima wants to create the scariest game of all time. And I trust that he could absolutely do it. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below about OD, this up-and-coming title from Hideo Kojima. And I'll be sure to give you guys more information as it comes out, guys. But let me know what you guys think about it in that comment section down below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, with that down and out of the way, let's move on to this. We have got so much to be excited about within the horror universe, guys, because I think that when I look at just the overall trajectory of horror games, horror movies, there is something to be said about, the rise of horror as a medium in entertainment. Whether we're talking movies, whether we're talking video games, horror, the genre has just grown rapidly over time. And I'm so excited about the future of this and this medium. And with that being said, here's what I want to talk about, because we had some news that came out recently from Xbox stating that, a lot of people got let go, lots of layoffs, mass layoffs at Microsoft as an entire company. And that stemmed to Xbox, lots of people getting let go at a number of studios, game cancellations. Obviously, we had Perfect Dark got canceled, Everwild got canceled. A lot of people losing their jobs that work on Sledgehammer Games, Raven Software, the folks that are working on Call of Duty. Basically Xbox's biggest franchise at this point that they currently possess. Lots of layoffs. Well, there was a lot of fear that other games were going to get canceled. That being our beloved State of Decay, and State of Decay 3 specifically. And I want to talk about this, guys, because although it sucks that so many people lost their jobs, and it feels like, does Xbox really have a vision of where they're trying to go here? And lots of question marks, lots of games in development hell. The one positive is that State of Decay 3 seems to be tracking here on schedule. So let's talk about that. State of Decay 3, guys, is without question one of my most anticipated games of the future. And in an article that came out from Instant Gaming News, State of Decay 3 has reportedly not been canceled. And so, guys, the future of every game in development at Microsoft is in doubt. It seems to be over for Everwild and ZeniMax Online Studios' next MMO, which was a game that was within the Elder Scrolls universe, and Perfect Dark are canceled. It's confirmed, guys. Those games are for sure canceled, and it's unfortunate. I will say Everwild was like a decade into development, and that getting canceled, I was not surprised about, because at some point, it's just not working. If it's not working, it's not working, And with ZeniMax, that's a little bit different. Their MMO seemed to be making pretty good progress. It's been in development since 2018, but they were kind of building it from the ground up, it sounded like. So I'm not sure exactly why they canceled that one. And apparently Perfect Dark, there was some rumors and some news that came out that the Perfect Dark gameplay that was shown off, which looked pretty good, to be quite honest with you guys, was fake. Now, we'll have to wait and see if that is true. There was a developer, or I should say an employee over there at the initiative that stated that it was real, but there were problems with the game. So hard to say, exactly what went on. But the good news is that, at least right now, State of Decay 2, which was announced back in 2020, could also be in danger. Fortunately, Windows Central journalist Ches Corden has some good news. As things stand, Undead Labs' game is not threatened with cancellation. Now, State of Decay 3 does not have a release date, but Ches said that State of Decay 3 is safe from this round of cancellations for those asking me. So other games that, obviously there's concern about would be State of Decay 3, even though State of Decay 3 is one game away, I believe this, guys, from being a flagship IP for Xbox. I think that State of Decay 3, if they knock it out of the park, that being Undead Labs, I believe it will be up there with the Halos of the world, with the Gears of Wars of the world, with the Fables of the world. I believe that. I really do. And I'm saying Fable, but we haven't even gotten that game, and I'm a little bit concerned about Fable for sure as well. But State of Decay 3, guys, being announced back in 2020, 4 years later, we get another trailer for it, which did seem to show some gameplay and stuff, but we saw nothing this year's Xbox Game Showcase. The hope is that we get something, whether it's the end of the year or we get something at the Xbox Game Showcase next year. But the good news, like I said, guys, is State of Decay 3 at this current juncture of time is safe from being canceled, and it shouldn't be canceled. It is State of Decay 3. They are building something. They have a very niche game here. And I feel like Undead Labs didn't even realize really the game that they have, and they're like, okay, we've got something here. They bring out State of Decay 2. They started to really build a fan base, and I believe that State of Decay 3 takes it to the next level from a graphic fidelity perspective, quality of life improvements, lots of things that are polished, refined. from the story to community to zombie animals, some lots of different upgrades that they could do here. State of Decay 3, guys, I believe has the makings of greatness. Once again, I do want Undead Labs to take their time. If the game's not ready, don't release it yet. But at the same time, you've got to be a little bit concerned, even working at Undead Labs right now, like, yo, guys, we could get canceled at any moment. Xbox is canceling projects, and projects that are taking a while, they're losing faith in. And so we got to really, let's lock in, get this thing done. They've got the Coalition helping them. They've got Obsidian helping them. So let's get this thing moving, guys. We want to get consistent updates. That's the only thing I'm concerned about. I just want to see consistent updates from Undead Labs about this title, because it's been radio silence since 2024, and that trailer we got at the Xbox Game Showcase. But the question is for all of you guys, what do you guys think about State of Decay 3 not getting canceled, thankfully, out of these rounds of layoffs? It's hard to say whether or not some of the people over at Undead Labs, it sounds like some people did lose their jobs, but I'm hoping that this game stays the course, get this game made. This is going to be huge for Xbox, for the community, for horror games as a whole. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down and out of the way, Dr. Dinglehoot. What's up, Doctor? I need it. Yes, I totally agree. I think many of us are praying for State of Decay 3 to still, and it sounds like State of Decay 3 is still in decent shape. I get really concerned, guys, obviously, when you have this massive publisher like Xbox. I feel like they overextended with the spending, and now Microsoft wants to please their investors, and so they're laying off a lot of people, canceling projects here and there to cut costs, to bump their stock price. I'm not saying it's a bad thing necessarily for Xbox to, kind of make their team smaller so they're more efficient. They can get these games moving a lot quicker. Doesn't have to go through as many layers of leadership, because that's one of the things that Phil Spencer mentioned, was they're trying to, it sounds like a lot of the people that they got rid of or, let go are executives, people who are in positions of power within these studios and, the higher ups at Xbox, where, say I'm a game developer for Undead Labs and I have a whole level designed, finished, ready to go, and I send it to a higher up of leadership, and that person's looking at it, and then they take their time with it, and then it needs to go to another executive and then another executive. It just, the time goes by so quickly and the process is so slow. And so I think that them kind of refining their teams is going to be a good thing overall, because you can be just as efficient with a smaller team than a super large team. Obviously State of Decay is not going to be as big of a game as Call of Duty, right? Now, sure, it's going to have a vastness to it and stuff, but when you're trying to create a new game every single year like Call of Duty, you're going to have a massive team working on Call of Duty. State of Decay is just, a little bit different in that case. But I'm more concerned that they don't have a release date. I totally agree with you. I thought that we were going to be getting the release date this year at the Xbox Game Showcase. I thought we were going to see it January, February, or March of next year. Now I think that we're looking at later in 2025 is when the game will release. I think that they will have something to show us at the Xbox Game Showcase next year. I don't believe it's going to be the Direct. I think the Direct will be Gears of War E-Day. They're showing off, obviously Gears of War Reloaded comes out in August, and then, they're kind of ramping up the hype and anticipation for Gears of War E-Day in 2026. So I think State of Decay 3 is probably going to be something that comes out late 2026, or maybe it's going to get pushed to 2027. I really hope not, but I was really thinking we were going to get a release date as well for State of Decay 3 at this past Xbox Game Showcase, and we didn't. So we'll have to wait and see. But with that down and out of the way, guys, let's move on to this. Great vids, by the way. I really appreciate you. Thank you, brother. Thank you, doctor. Okay, guys. Let's talk about this. So, you know, State of Decay 3, obviously, it hasn't been canceled. Great news. Because I think it would be one of the biggest mistakes that Xbox would make, or if they're planning on making that cancellation of this project at some point, I believe it would be one of the biggest mistakes of Xbox's history. Because I believe that State of Decay 3 and the State of Decay franchise is one game away from becoming a flagship IP for Xbox. Obviously, Ches Corden has mentioned that State of Decay 3 is not, you don't need to be concerned right now about it being canceled or anything of that nature, which is awesome news. So let's move forward. So I want to talk about the multiplayer. Obviously, State of Decay 3 has 2 other game developers working on the title. We have the Coalition, the folks that work on Gears of War Reloaded, the ones who are making Gears of War E-Day are helping out Undead Labs with State of Decay 3. And the folks over at Obsidian, the guys and girls who make Grounded, who are working on Grounded 2 and the Outer Worlds 2, are also helping out State of Decay 3 and Undead Labs. So in an article coming to us from Game Rant and Joshua Duckworth over there, Grounded 2 is a proving ground for State of Decay 3's multiplayer. So in 2024, it was announced that State of Decay 3's Undead Labs was receiving assistance from Obsidian Entertainment on its shared world feature. This was big news then, but it's even bigger news now with Grounded 2's early access release being right around the corner. As fans know, the limited co-op of State of Decay 2 was criticized as being a ride-along. It was meant to help out the communities of each player with additional loot and items, but it ended up not being very fun. As a result, the co-op community could never really get invested in State of Decay 2, and that one promising feature ended up amounting to very little. Grounded, of course, did not have this issue, so Undead Labs leaning on Obsidian Entertainment shows how committed the studio is to State of Decay 3. More than that, though, it means Grounded 2 might foreshadow the full prowess of the feature. You know, I disagree a little bit. Yes, it wasn't as fun as it could be within State of Decay 2, that the limited co-op experiences, but I feel that with State of Decay 2, they were testing a lot of these things as well for the future, right? They had no idea, like, okay, are these co-op features going to make sense? Are they going to be something that resonates within, you know, the fan base? And a lot of people really, like I said, so many new people came into the State of Decay franchise with State of Decay 2. And so now leaning heavier into this and having Obsidian there to help out and support with it, I think is going to be an absolute cheat code. Obsidian Entertainment releasing Avowed, The Outer Worlds 2, and Grounded 2 in early access is one of the biggest surprises of 2025. It's hard to say for sure what this means for the games and people of the studio overall, but it is becoming the Xbox studio right now. With Grounded 2, players will see a new and improved take on Obsidian's shared save and persistent world features. Here's the thing. This is where I get a little bit concerned when we talk about like Obsidian specifically. And even Undead Labs more so. It's kind of like an underlying issue, I think, with Undead Labs. Undead Labs is not able, it sounds like, they're having a hard time doing all the things that they want to with State of Decay 3. And so they're pulling, you know, the folks over at Obsidian, the folks over at the Coalition to help them when those other 2 studios have their own projects that they have to work on. I mean, think of Obsidian. You know, you got Outer Worlds 2, Grounded 2. You know, Avowed, I thought had some really cool features, but I don't think, I'm not saying it was a misfire, but I don't think it was as compelling as we thought it was going to be originally. Grounded 2 seems really interesting. Outer Worlds 2, once again, interesting. It's not so much my cup of tea, but I know a lot of people love the Outer Worlds. So overall, though, if Obsidian is helping State of Decay and they're helping out Undead Labs ultimately, they're not able to focus as much time and resource and development on their own stuff. The same thing with the Coalition, which is where I get a little bit concerned, like maybe this will help State of Decay 3, but is it helping those other games out there like Gears of War, like Grounded, so on and so forth. So it's just something to think about. While State of Decay 3 hasn't been shown in a while, previous highlights pointed to how there were more expansive boundaries and more players involved in SOD2. Undead Labs has also indicated that it would be more flexible with online co-op so that players will have a true open co-op world owned by multiplayer with deeper and stronger combat features in State of Decay 3. This again combines Undead Labs' strengths in the IP with Obsidian's expertise with the tech. Of course, it's simple enough to talk the talk but not walk the walk, and that's why Grounded 2 is important for State of Decay 3. Grounded 2 is likely going to have the same persistent world and shared save features that will indicate how State of Decay 3 works. Some improvements, innovations, and new features are to be expected, and while it's possible State of Decay 3 represents a step beyond that, it's going to be rooted in the expertise on display with Grounded 2. Sure, one is more child-friendly and the other is a zombie co-op game, but the underlying tech is going to play a role in each of their success. I totally agree. I think absolutely, guys, we can look to Grounded 2 as in terms of these features to what we can maybe expect with State of Decay 3. And then on the flip side, when we talk about what the Coalition is doing for Undead Labs, I think that they might be helping out with the Horde mode. Obviously, the Coalition, known for Gears of War, you know, that they're a Gears of War studio at this point. Horde mode is one of the major features within Gears of War and, you know, from its entire history. And so they may be helping out with some type of Horde mode or something of that nature, whereas Obsidian might be helping with like co-op multiplayer stuff. It's going to be really interesting and fascinating to see how these studios and what they are exactly doing for State of Decay 3 and Undead Labs. But the question is for all of you, what do you guys think about State of Decay 3 getting all this help from these other fellow developers, that being Obsidian and the Coalition? And do you think it's going to elevate the process, but also the quality of State of Decay 3? What are your guys' thoughts about it? Let us know in the comment section down below, and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down and out of the way, let's move on to this. Huh. Yo, guys, I'm going to tell you, one of the things that I'm really, a game I'm very, very excited about, without question, probably, you know, people have asked me, like, what are our most anticipated games of the future so far within, you know, from all of us here at Horror Theory? And I would say that it's kind of pretty well known that our top games, number one, the first game that's going to be coming out very, very shortly is none other than Dying Light the Beast. Comes out like August 22nd. Very excited about that. Mark your calendars. Super excited about Dying Light the Beast. I think it's going to be incredible. If you guys would like to see us stream Dying Light the Beast here on Horror Theory, let us know so that we can maybe go ahead and do that for you guys. Number two would be Gears of War Reloaded. Gears of War Reloaded is a remaster of the first game that came out back in 2006. And yeah, Gears of War is more of a shooter, but at the same time, guys, it has horror elements in it. So we're excited about Gears of War Reloaded, certainly. Silent Hill F is a very exciting one, which comes out, I believe, September of this year. And guys, there's other games that we're very excited about that may or may not be coming out this year, or, you know, whatever the case might be. However, there's a game coming out that I am incredibly excited about because I'm a massive fan of the survival horror games, that being like Dead Space, the Callisto Protocol. I don't care what anybody says, the Callisto Protocol was awesome. It was from the guys who made Dead Space. Games like that, I'm always looking for, like, what's next? What's the next, you know, kind of game that's going to be similar to this or down the same vein? Well, we might have found it. We might have found it. Because there's a game coming out, guys. and it's called Cronos, the New Dawn. You guys heard of this yet? Cronos, the New Dawn looks absolutely unnerving, coming to us from Bloober Team, and we keep on getting more and more gameplay from these guys over at Bloober Team. Now, the only thing I will say, guys, is the masks. Not a massive fan of the mask. Like, you know, that's the only thing. I'm thinking maybe you can update this in some way, shape, or form, or you can customize your armor, customize your character, so to speak. But this game is certainly one of the most anticipated games of 2025. We don't have an exact release date yet, but it's supposedly coming out fall 2025. I think it's probably going to come out in October. So like a Halloween release makes sense. You don't want to be too close to Silent Hill F, obviously. That's going to be coming out in September. So I think you're going to want this game to come out in like October, around the Halloween, time frame. But just look at this, dude. Like, this game, it looks very detailed, very, like, obviously, Bloober Team, for those of you who don't know, they made the Silent Hill 2 remake. So you can see some Silent Hill elements here. They got inspiration from Dead Space, Resident Evil, The Thing, like The Thing from John Carpenter's The Thing. Because what's so cool about this game is that the aliens or the creatures merge. So after you kill an enemy, it doesn't mean that you have, killed the alien or the creature completely. They're called orphans. You're a traveler, and these are orphans that you're going up against. The orphans are not always dead when you think they're dead, because they can merge together to create an entirely new, bigger, stronger orphan. I'm telling you guys, this is a game to keep your eyes peeled for. The gameplay looks incredible. Bloober Team has been knocking games out of the park. I believe that Bloober Team also did Blair Witch. I could be wrong on that. I think you guys will I'll have to double check this, but you guys can fact check me on that. But their work that they did with Layers of Fears, The Medium, I believe Blair Witch, and then the Silent Hill 2 remake, and now Cronos, the New Dawn. Cronos, the New Dawn, I think is going to be an IP that they make multiple games for, because it's called the New Dawn. I feel like it's kind of like the new Dead Space, the new Callisto Protocol, and that's kind of what they're insinuating here, that this is a new IP that they plan on making multiple entries for, not just a one-off like maybe, Layers of Fears or like The Medium or something. Like, they want this to be a long-withstanding franchise, maybe at the very least a trilogy. Guys, I'm incredibly excited about Cronos, the New Dawn. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comment section down below, and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down and out of the way, I got, let's see here. We are going to be coming to you guys once again tomorrow with another show. Jeff will be on the show with me tomorrow. Very, very happy about this. Jeff and I have been, hosting Horror Theory. But a couple of quick things before we get off here. Need your guys' help. Let's see, where am I? Okay, perfect. Switch screens here really quick. Need your guys' help. A few shout outs are in motion here, guys. The Horror Theory community is growing, guys. Every single day. Getting new subscribers, new members. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Spartan, thank you for subscribing to us. Ben Yang, Druidic Norse. Really appreciate all of you who are subscribing to the channel, becoming members of the channel. Really, really appreciate each and every one of you. So if you guys haven't subscribed already, join the horror theory community. Very, very grateful for all of you. And then the last thing that I'm going to ask of you guys, we're just starting to kind of get the ball rolling here with our Horror Theory X page at Theory of Horror. If you guys go there, we're going to be having consistent updates on when we're going live, you know, different videos as they go up, things of that nature. So you guys don't miss anything that we are doing here at Horror Theory. I'm super grateful for all of the new followers, all the new subscribers. You guys are absolutely awesome. You guys are crushing it. And I want to say thank you so much to all of you for all the support you guys have been giving us. We're going to be coming to you guys once again tomorrow with another episode of Horror Theory. Jeff will be on the show with me. Once again, guys, thank you so much for all of you for joining this episode of Horror Theory. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure that you leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, stay positive, just keep grinding, and as always, I'll talk to you guys all in the next one.